You know that feeling when you're driving on an open highway, maybe somewhere past Monterey or heading down to the coast, and you suddenly see flashing lights in your rearview mirror?
Oh, yeah. And for decades, what happened next was, well, incredibly unpredictable. I mean, it was a completely subjective encounter.
Exactly. It depended entirely on the specific officer, their mood, and, a very fluid interpretation of the rules.
Right, exactly.
But with the May 2026 decree reforming Mexico's federal highway traffic regulations, that unpredictability is basically gone. So welcome to this custom deep dive. Our mission today is exploring this massive legal shift based on the official decree, where the Guardia Nacional has officially taken over highway traffic enforcement.
Yeah, completely replacing the old federal police is a huge transition.
It really is. Okay, let's unpack this. What does this actually mean for you, the listener, the next time you're driving on a federal road in Mexico?
Well, to really understand the impact of the Guardia National stepping in, we have to look at how the law formalizes their inspection powers. Because they aren't just patrolling anymore. They are operating with a highly specific, standardized toolkit.
Wait, what kind of toolkit? Like physical gear?
Yeah, exactly. We're talking about mandatory handheld devices for electronic ticketing and a very strict mandate to check physical and mechanical conditions. So they're specifically tasked with checking tire traction, brake systems, and running breathalyzers.
Oh, wow. And those breathalyzer rules are actually super intense now. For a regular driver, the limit is 0.40 milligrams per liter, but for cargo and passenger drivers,
It's zero, right?
absolute zero tolerance, yeah. Plus, they are now rigorously checking driver fatigue logbooks. It honestly reminds me of aviation. The Guardia National is essentially treating commercial trucking with the rigid safety protocols of an airline flight. You can't just, wing it with a massive rig anymore.
Definitely not. Every hour of sleep and every mechanical check has to be documented. And what's fascinating here is how the law balances that strict enforcement with making sure the stop itself is strictly by the book, so your rights aren't being trampled.
Because they have so much power now.
Exactly. Because the state is giving them so much power, the law now demands strict documented procedures. The officer has to identify themselves with a photo ID right away. They can't just vaguely say, oh, you were driving dangerously.
They have to be specific.
Yeah, they have to cite the exact article of the regulation you violated using those digital handhelds. It completely removes the ambiguity.
Okay, so if the enforcement is this mathematically precise, what happens when you actually break a rule? I know the fines are now calculated using the UMA.
Right, which, for those unfamiliar, is a standardized economic index. It updates yearly with inflation, so the officer isn't just, pulling a peso amount out of thin air.
Right, but there is this unique cumulative discount system. If you pay within 15 days, you get a 25% discount.
Which is a pretty standard incentive.
Yeah, but here's where it gets really interesting. There is another 25% discount if you expressly admit fault right there on the ticket. Honestly, isn't that a bit coercive?
How so?
Well, it feels like a trap. The officer pulls you over, flashes a 25% discount in your face, and gets you to sign away your right to fight the ticket later.
Yeah, I hear you. This raises an important question about how legal systems handle sheer volume. Yes, it can definitely feel like a psychological lever. But this system deliberately uses financial incentives to prevent the courts from being completely clogged.
Because if everyone appeals,
Exactly. If every single speeding ticket goes to the Federal Tribunal of Administrative Justice, the entire system collapses. So it's a calculated balance of state power and procedural efficiency.
that makes sense.
Right.
But preventing lawsuits isn't the only way this law strips away an officer's leverage. In the past, an officer could use the threat of towing your car, sending it to the Corralon, as the ultimate leverage for even minor infractions. Now, the state has explicitly stripped them of that threat, haven't they?
They have, yeah. The law draws a hard line between a standard rule violation and an immediate public danger. If you speed, you get a digital fine.
But they don't take your car.
Right. They can only take your car if you're an active liability to others on the road. We are talking about severe cases, things like DUIs, where there isn't a sober backup driver in the car, missing license plates, a lack of insurance, or an accident involving injuries.
Oh, so a very specific list.
Yeah, if it's not on that exact list, your car stays on the road.
Wow. So the Guardia Nacional is truly ushering in a highly structured, digital, and heavily regulated era for Mexican federal highways. Whether you are just renting a car for a weekend road trip or you are managing an entire logistics fleet of 18-wheelers, knowing these exact procedures is absolutely essential.
Definitely. You have to know your rights, including your right to appeal, because the rules of the game are completely different now. The entire enforcement landscape has fundamentally changed from subjective negotiation to objective data.
Which brings us back to those flashing lights in the rearview mirror. As highway enforcement becomes this rigidly standardized machine driven by electronic data and immediate financial compliance incentives, will that traditional freewheeling culture of the open road completely disappear?
That is the big question.
Right. Or will it just evolve into a new, complex game of digital compliance, something for you to think about the next time you hit the highway?